to Rides and Drives Team Radio. I'm Kaz. I'm here with my father, Harvey. And just like last week, we're still so excited because the IndyCar month of May has started. But now we have some actual results to talk about, some on-track action that we have seen at the IMS. And we are so excited to give you our early takeaways from practice.
Yeah, they've had 2 days of open practice at the Speedway. Everybody got time on track. Some got more time than others. Unfortunately, Stingray Robb and Catherine Legg had some problems yesterday, but they all got a number of laps in today. And I think we learned a few things. I think in early practice, we learned that experience matters, and the guys who've turned a lot of laps on the 500 over the years were fast early, right?
Mm-hmm. Settle
So
in a little easier when you know what you're doing.
exactly. But to see yesterday's results with all those guys who have had so much experience at the top of the timesheet, I don't know why anyone would be surprised by that.
It must have been fun for you. It kind of takes you back in time a little bit to when these guys were full season regular drivers. A lot of them drove together. Kind of fun to see those names again. There's something nostalgic in that.
Oh yeah, but to see Castroneves and Dixon and Rossi and Connor Daly at the top, I thought was kind of nice.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So I'm always really hesitant after practices and tests to like make any real declarative, this is what I expect. We're going to do it anyway, but
Yeah.
obviously we take these with a grain of salt. Not everybody was running their race setup. It's called testing because sometimes you're not testing exactly how fast can you go. You're testing how fast can you go under these conditions with these limiters added. So it's not a one-to-one comparison, race to
No,
testing, driver to driver.
yeah, it was
But
interesting. I saw Power and do an interview, and he said, "Yeah, we just got done running 25 laps. Now we're going to take the car in and change it completely and go run 25 more laps."
yeah,
So, they're not, they're, yes, they want to go fast, but they're learning.
it's great to be the fastest at testing, but it's better to learn from
Right.
the laps you put in. Being the fastest and not knowing why is a terrible outcome, even if you wind up at the top of the table. So, I still do have some thoughts though. We had talked, I'm just going to dive right in. We had talked pretty extensively last week when we discussed the additional drivers. We talked about Takuma Sato, who is a real favorite of mine. I love watching this guy race. He's back every year for the 500. This year in particular, I'm really excited to see him because it feels like RLL has taken some steps over the last several races. Graham's been looking absolutely great. And Louis and Mick have given us little shimmers of something. And I just kind of thought if the RLL car is in a better spot, putting a guy like Takuma in there for a race that he loves so much could yield some really great results. And hey, no surprise, Takuma Sato finished in the top 10 both days of testing.
Right.
This looks great for RLL and just makes me really, really happy.
Well, yeah, and he looks great, and Schumacher had a good afternoon. He got his rookie test out of the way, and this afternoon he ran a bunch of laps, and he ended up in the top 15, I believe.
Yeah, Mick
Yeah,
Schumacher finished 12th overall today.
right. So really nice day for him. He's getting comfortable. Got to run in traffic for the afternoon, and that was really fun to watch. Was to see these guys run in traffic now because race pace is incredibly important here. You cannot be too far off the pace if you want to be competitive. Just for sake of argument, if the fastest car is running 225, which they were, and the slowest car was running 219, that means you're going to get lapped in about 25 or 30 laps, in between 25 and 30 laps, which
Hmm.
means by the end of the race, you're going to be 9 laps down,
Yeah,
right? So
it's a
that
long race. The
7 miles an hour is a huge difference.
pace
8 miles.
catches up with you on the I mean, pace always catches up with you, but
Right.
this race is twice as long as the first oval we've seen this year.
Right.
So we're going to have a lot of space in between the front finisher and the back markers by the end of the race.
Yeah, but so the big thing I was looking for today was that speed differential and could people stay close enough? And to see Mick running, 220, 222, I think, somewhere around there. That's a pretty reasonable race pace. I think the fastest lap in the race last year was 226.
Mhm.
So
You nailed it, by the way. 222 was his 222.8.
there you go.
It's within the
Okay,
margin of error. I'll give it to you.
great.
Um, Speaking of pace and looking fast, I think we've got to talk about the three Penskes today, all three in the top 10.
Yes, that I I I think they are ready to go.
Mhm.
Obviously, I saw another interview with McLaughlin, and he's like, "What happened last year? I don't
Yeah.
remember what." He's just like done. He's like, "Yeah, I didn't get to run many laps here last year. We're looking forward." So
This feels like it might be kind of gearing up for the Penske Revenge Tour, and I would love to see that. This race has
yeah.
historically been really great for them, and last year I couldn't imagine it more disastrous. It was terrible for all three Penske drivers.
Well, let's hope they don't try to take advantage of the rules
You know
and
what?
just run
I
it
hope
straight
they
this
do. That
time.
would be so Penske, and also that's not what screwed them last year because Joseph was still going to come back. Um, anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing Penske perform well. I hope they keep that up. And as a broader theme, I know we've got Alex, and then of course Takuma Sato as well in the top 10 driving Hondas, but otherwise it's all Chevrolet.
Right. Yeah, and I think we kind of expected that. We knew that the
Mhm.
Hondas were going to be a little bit stronger on the road and street courses, and Chevys typically perform better on high-speed circuits, and these high-speed ovals. But let's see how it shakes out, right? We still have qualifying to go. I know I was really surprised by the performance of the Andretti cars overall today. We didn't see anyone run near the top of the charts for Andretti. So, we'll see what they do over the next few weeks to get their car into a competitive position.
It's hard for me to imagine Andretti not putting together something that at least one of their drivers can make something out of. Yeah, they've got two 500 winners on their team.
Exactly. It's not like they don't know how to run fast. I'm assuming, as Will talked about, that they're just running different programs and trying different things because setup really matters at the Indy 500. The car is so specialized and tuned for this one race. It's just really important to get it right.
And you know what, Harvey? You just nailed the natural segue. Fantastic. So we didn't want to talk too long about testing because, like we said at the top of the hour, all of this is to be taken with a big old grain of salt. It's not race results by any means, and we don't want to beat it to death. We saw a lot of things we're excited about, but that's pretty much it. But what we do want to talk about today, and this is something that I'm learning too, because this is the part of the sport that I just don't know that well. Um, we've talked before about setup, about how we run different types of cars on road courses, street courses, ovals, about how within those designations, the setup you choose matters really significantly. Let's do a little bit of a dive into that and talk about what makes a successful 500 car.
Okay, well, let's start overall at a very high level.
Mhm.
First of all, when you run a car on a street course, you turn right and left, right?
Yep.
Your top speeds are slower. So you're running, your top speed, I think in Texas, the top speed was something like 185 miles an hour down that long straight. Well, at
Yep.
Indy, they're going to touch over 230 miles an hour top speed. So,
Why can that happen on an oval versus a street course or road course?
well, why don't you pick up that little car behind you right there, and we can talk
Ah,
a little bit about this.
the
First,
diecast visual
yes,
aid.
perfect. And this diecast has the IndyCar set, has the Indy 500 setup on it.
This
So
was, just for reference, Joseph Newgarden's 2024 500 winning vehicle.
the illegal
Well,
500 winning vehicle.
allegedly. They didn't get caught for that one.
That's right. So let's talk about it. When you talk about the speed difference, there are a couple of things. First of all, you've got a completely different aero package. You see that wing on the back, right?
Hmm.
It is small and very low compared to where the wing is on a road course. The wing is higher, has a lot more surface area because you're trying to create more downforce for those tight corners so you can keep the car planted. So you have more wing both in the back and in the front on the street car, less wing on the Indy car, which gives you a lot less drag and less downforce to help the car go faster. In Austin, one of the things that or not Austin, in Arlington, one of the things that Alex talked about was he had set his car up with a little too much downforce, so he couldn't get the top speeds to really challenge Kyle
That's right.
at
I
at
remember
the end
that.
of that race. So in this, you're really finding that balance because when you go 230 miles an hour through the speed trap and into the corner in, say, turn one or turn three, right? You need to have enough downforce to keep those tires planted, but you don't want to scrub off too much speed so you fall way below that margin, keeping your speed at the right level and making sure that the car stays planted is that balance that you're fighting with the arrow there.
All right. So we've got wings, lower, smaller, tighter,
Right.
compact for less downforce. What
The
else is
other
different about the Indy setup?
Well, the other thing that does is those parts weigh a lot less. So
Hmm.
this car weighs anywhere, depending on the street setup, anywhere from I think it's about 150 pounds to 65 pounds lighter than a street car. So it's significantly lighter. The other thing is the wheelbase is shorter on this car. So the tub is the same, but the wheels are a little closer together, front to rear, which aids the straight line stability of the car.
Okay.
So because you're running those two long straights, you want the car to be very stable, especially when you start to turn in.
Okay. Interesting.
Another big difference between the street and the road cars is the tire setup. Now, again, you're primarily turning left in an Indy car, right?
Hmm.
You still do, you'll come out of
You'll
turn
wiggle.
four, snake back and forth down the straight or whatever, but your corners are left-hand turns. So the tires are staggered, actually. The tires on the right-hand side of the car are larger than the tires on the left-hand side of the car. And the compounds change from corner to corner. So the tire that gets the most um, pressure put on it during the race is the right front tire. And that compound is harder than the other tires so that it'll last and not be a limiting factor to you in how long you can stay on the track.
I'm sorry, I have to ask a question that I don't
Yeah,
want on the podcast, so we're going to call this a cut. Why would right front get more pressure? Wouldn't it be left front?
no, because you're turning, and
Left.
that's your outside front tire.
Outside front gets more pressure than inside
Gets
front?
yep, because when you're turning this way, it puts it pushes all that weight to the
Okay, sure.
outside of the
Yeah,
car.
yeah. Okay. When you make a turn in a vehicle and you're pushed. Okay, yeah.
And actually when you make that turn, you actually the left side of the car gets lighter. So it's those right side tires take a lot more abuse than the left side tires.
I actually changed my mind. I want you to leave this in.
Yeah.
Well, it was maybe a silly question. It was a great explainer. So, yep, thank you. Thank you, Harvey. I need to study physics a little bit better, I
Well,
think is what we're learning today.
knowing who you're married to, you'd think that this is, I
Yeah,
mean, he
PhD in
is he
physics.
is a
I
PhD physicist. So
I didn't really pay a
no,
lot
it's
of attention during grad
yeah.
school.
No, yeah, it's just that when you're going around that corner, the weight transfer of the car to the outside of the car puts more pressure on those tires. So that's why you're going to have more durable compound on the outside tires of the
That makes
car.
plenty of sense.
And then the other thing that's different in oval cars is they have a thing called a weight jacker. And what the weight jacker is a hydraulic system on each corner of the car where they can raise or lower the spring height. And what that does is, say they raise the right front spring height the half an inch. Well, that puts more weight on the outside left of the car again.
Mhm.
So that might help it dig in and turn more. Generally, they use this to combat oversteer or understeer as that starts to happen. Um, as as you start, you run your laps, the fuel gets lighter, the tires get worn out, so the balance of the car changes throughout the lap. So you can use that weight jacker to help rebalance the car as you go through a stint.
And that's something that the drivers can access and change throughout their
Yeah,
stints.
it's
That's not a
buttons.
pit box adjustment. That's
No,
a
it
consistent
can't
running
be
adjustment.
a pit box or any kind of automatic adjustment. The driver has to do that. The other thing that's interesting about that is, like in qualifying, you'll hear them say, "Hey, get on the weight jacker." When they come
Mhm.
out of a corner, they'll lower the car completely. They'll drop all four weight jackers so that on the straightaway they're as low as possible, which creates as little drag as possible again. So you'll hear that, and they'll talk about that through qualifying, which is pretty interesting as well.
I remember that coming into play in qualifying last year, fairly significantly, actually.
Yeah, and we can talk about qualifying strategies when we get there. We'll actually probably do that at the track when we're
Ah,
there. We can do some maybe even corner an engineer or something and talk about different qualifying strategies. I think is would be a really nice conversation to have, because between the weight jacker, between how much you fuel, between when you're going to deploy your hybrid
hmm.
boost, all of that stuff comes into play on qualifying.
And we'll see a lot of different strategies.
Right. The other thing, that really plays in this car, it's not different, but the aero screen here. It's an important part of the car's aerodynamics. This was added a few years ago, and as a safety feature, but it also is helps improve the car's overall aerodynamics by creating airflow over top of the car.
Hmm.
It did come into play yesterday when Roman Grosjean struck a bird at 230 miles an hour.
Yep.
May the bird rest in peace. But thanks to the aero screen, the bird didn't hit his helmet at 230 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, which could have had devastating effects.
Once again, big thumbs up to IndyCar for the safety. That even if the aero screen changed nothing on the drivability of the car, excellent, excellent addition. We like Roman's face where it is.
That's right. So I think those are the really big differences between the street and the oval cars and the IndyCar oval car specifically. Like, you'll watch the cars in, say, at Milwaukee, they're still oval cars, but they have um, a much bigger wing and front and rear on those cars.
Well, I think I need more die casts so I can do more direct comparisons. That's one thing
I
I've learned
I
today.
think I think that's something you should look to. I'm maybe well, if you got a Takuma Sato car, that would be an
It
Indy
would also be a 500 car. I need
500
a
car
road
as
course,
well.
but good investments all around, I
That's
think.
right. So, any other questions about the cars or that leading into the 500?
No, this gives me a much better understanding. Like I said, I still need to brush up on my general physics, but this gives me a much better understanding of what exactly we're talking about when we talk about setup adjustments. Thank you.
Right. The other, and actually I should have mentioned this then, but there braking also is really important in the 500 because you don't brake on the oval the way you do on a road course. So the brakes are set up differently. The hardest braking zone in the 500 is coming into pit lane, where you're coming
Sure.
down from, coming out of turn four and having to get to that 60-mile-an-hour pit speed limit.
Yep.
So that's going to be the area where you touch the brakes the hardest. For the most part, you barely touch the brakes while you're running a program on the 500. You're not braking into those corners to slow down.
So would they set them up so that the brakes are less sensitive then?
Yeah, there is a different brake setup for the 500. I don't know the specifics of it. Again, that's something we can get into when we get down to the track and get to talk to people.
Yeah, let's dig in. I want to learn about these brakes.
I think we can learn about everything as we get down there. So, and we invite all of you to come learn along with us as we do more of these explainer programs, and we'll have a lot of short videos and content that we'll be putting up from the practice, qualifying, and race weekend. As we get to the 500, but and before that, we do have the Indy GP, the
I
Sancio
was gonna
Grand Prix.
say, don't forget Sancio. I know the 500 is so excited, it's so exciting, but we should not sleep on the Sancio Grand Prix. Harvey will be there live, bringing you all kinds of content from the track. So keep an eye on that. As I said at the top of the podcast, we're just geeks for the month of May. I can't wait for us to really kick off.
Yeah, and we can get right into it next week. So let's end it here for this week. I think this was a good opportunity to just get one more, educational type thing in before we get into actual race prep that is coming up in the next few weeks here. So. For Rides and Drives Team Radio, I'm Harvey, and I'm here with Kaz, and we'll see you next week as we prepare for the Sancio Grand Prix.
Thanks, everybody. Drive safe.